What is going on, everyone? So like I was saying in the last video, we are getting on to the cams on the S14. They are good to go. They are drop-in ready. They're 256s, the HKS 256 step 1 cams. So they are a-okay to just drop in and go. I mean, they would obviously benefit from a tune, but you don't need to tune because I don't have a tunable computer in this car yet. So they're just going in and calling it a day. So what I've done is I haven't really started yet, but I'm starting to pull this valve cover off and I'm just numbering the plugs and wires in order. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing crazy, but it just makes it a little easier when going back together. So we're going to start off by that, and then we're going to pull this valve cover off. And before we do the valve cover, we're actually going to pull the strut bar off. Then we're going to pull the valve cover off. All right, moving along here. We are just about ready to pop the valve cover off and check out what the inside of this engine looks like. Hopefully it's nice and clean. It's a good runner though. Doesn't seem to use any oil, so I'm not too concerned about it. And there she goes. Very clean on the inside, actually. As you guys can see, the inside of this motor is actually pretty darn clean. It's not all varnished up, and it actually still has this original chain guide on it, which is going to come right off because starting in '98, Nissan themselves did away with this because it is not needed. All it does is cause noise in the when you start it up. It causes a rattle, and Nissan themselves says you can chuck it, so it's going. So you could actually tell this thing is low mile. It only has like, I forgot, 60,000 kilometers on this car, which I can't believe the VTC is already making so much noise. I thought it was going to look, you know, terrible inside the motor because the VTC is bad. It just went bad from age, I'm assuming. It is 28 years old. It's a 94, so yeah, 28 years old, this fucking car. Imagine that. Holy shit. But was a good excuse to do what we're doing and throwing a nice set of fucking cams in it. All right, let's fucking cam it up. All right, so we got the car up in the air now with the valve cover off. We have to set it to top dead center, and I forgot that I have all of my covers on, so now I'm going to take them all off. All right, so we are set at top dead now. Now on an SR, on a VTC, I don't know, I can't remember how the other one is. On the VTC, you got your one dot going straight up and then one on an angle going outwards. And you want the first set of cam lobes facing outwards like these are. They're both facing outwards, and we are at top dead center, which is the second mark on the crank. And we are ready to take the tensioner off and loosen this chain up. All right, so we got the tensioner out. Cam chain is nice and loose now. Don't want to mess with it too much yet. We started loosening up the intake cam caps. You want to keep these all in a row, and you got to torque them when you put them back in. They got to go in the exact same spot. You can't move them around. Don't work like that. So here is the tensioner. I already collapsed it, and it's got this nifty little hook on it so it can stay collapsed. So that is an original tensioner, but I didn't have any issues with it, and everything was nice and tight, so it's going to go back in for the time being. Nissan does have an updated tensioner setup that's supposed to be better than that, so maybe one day I'll have to, you know, get a new one, but for the time being that one's working just fine, so we're going to go with it. So now we're just gonna, like I said, keep the cam caps in order. I'm gonna put a piece of cardboard out and put them exactly how they came out, and we're gonna remove the intake cam first, and then we're gonna do the same with the exhaust cam and just put them back exactly the same way they were sitting. So on these HKS cams, I got the HKS cam gear with it, I'm not even gonna mess with it. We set it at 0 and it's gonna stay like that for the time being. I did a bunch of research on, you know, if I should go advanced or retarded, and it'll make your head spin if you get into it. I don't have a degree wheel. It's a stock motor as of right now, so we're just setting it at 0. From the research I've done, since I have VTC on it, we don't got to worry about the intake, but the exhaust, for the little bit of gain you get after 6,000 RPMs, messing with the, retarded the timing, the little bit of gain you get, you lose a whole lot down. You lose like 13 foot-pounds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but on a car that only has 130, 140 foot-pounds, you feel 13 foot-pounds. So we're not going to mess with it. We're going to leave it right stock and let the cams do their thing, the 256s, and just get what we can out of the cams for the time being. Also to be said is the exhaust cam gear really can come alive when you have a nice exhaust and a nice header setup. We don't have that yet, so that's why it's going to stay at 0. Maybe one day when I have a computer and a nice header back exhaust, we can start messing with that cam gear a little bit. But as of right now, we're not going to gain anything. We might actually lose power if we start messing with it. So 0 and in, and then we'll mess with it one day when we have the right supporting mods for it, which are coming, because we have to do that stuff now. I mean, if we're doing cams in this motor, it has to have a full exhaust. So let's get to it. We're going to take these stock cams and this broken VTC out and start getting it back together. But here we are right now. And we're just taking the cam caps off and keeping them in order. Alright guys, I was getting a little carried away and I forgot to update you. But we got the old cams out and we have the new HKS cam in on the intake side. I'm just torquing it down now, going slowly and evenly to make sure you apply even pressure on the whole cam. You should use assembly lube. I just used oil. They're used cams, so just oil the shit out of everything. I poured oil all over the cam and all over the where the cam sits, the cam caps. So yeah, just lube the hell out of it. And now I am torquing it down, and then we'll be doing the exhaust side. So we are making progress, and it looks pretty, doesn't it? So both HKS cams are in. Cam timing is where it's supposed to be. Now we're just going to torque everything down. We're going to torque the cam caps. I got to look up the torque figures. I'm going to torque these ends, the gears, which are very high torque. So luckily my buddy's here, and what you do is you hold the cam with it open-ended, and I get to torque the ends. And then after everything's all torqued, we will get the cam chain tensioner back in, and we'll be good, ready to rock. Put it back together and fire this bad boy up. Now, one thing I am gonna have to look up, with brand new cams, you have to break them in. So they say to hold it at 3,000 RPMs for 15 minutes. Since these are used cams, do I have to break them in? I don't know. I don't think so. But then again, it is a new set of cams in the head and cam caps, the cam, journals. So it's probably not a bad idea. I might do it for like 10 minutes just to, be safe. And then you're supposed to change the oil afterwards. So I'm gonna have to go buy oil tomorrow and a filter and change the oil, I guess. I mean, I probably don't have to, because like I said, they're used cams, but better be safe than sorry. So we are going to do that. Not to mention all the contaminants from our hands being in the motor and everything. Not a bad idea. Let it run, break the cams in slowly, and change the oil first thing in the morning. But yeah, I'm getting back to work. Let's just take a second to look how good this looks. We got a nice HKS piece there, and it's all the way back there, but HKS. So we now have a cammed SR20, and I hopefully will have VTC now, so it won't be a complete slug anymore. All right, so everything is torqued down. So the cam caps, you start right in the middle and work your way out one by one. And those are 90 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. I ran them at 90 inch-pounds, which is about 8 foot-pounds. So I have a tiny little torque wrench, and I set it to 90 inch-pounds. And just worked our way from the middle back one by one. Now the cam gears are another story. I set these at, they're supposed to be between 101 and 112 foot-pounds. So it's a lot. You need to have someone else. My buddy was just here holding the cams with a open-ended wrench. I believe we used a 1-inch open-ended wrench, and it fit right over the cams. And then I used my big torque wrench, and we did 106 foot-pounds. That's enough. They're not going anywhere. So 106 on the outside, 90 inch-pounds on the inside. All right, so we got the Sylvia back on ground. I mean, not really on the ground, but to a point that I can work on it without breaking my back. And we're gonna start off by putting this valve cover back on. What we have is some OEM SR20 valve cover gaskets, so we don't gotta worry about any leaks or anything like that. The ones that came off really weren't that bad, surprisingly. There's it right there in the garbage. But yeah, they weren't that bad, but better safe than sorry. Now we have nice new ones. We won't have to do it for a while, even if we take it back off and powder coat the cover. I was actually going to paint this cover this morning, but I decided against it. I'm just gonna have it powder coated over the winter. Now that I have to put my truck up on the lift, I'm trying to just put this back together, get it all set, and then we'll be on our merry way. All right, all the junk is gone. Really wasn't that bad considering. I mean, this car only has like 60,000 miles on it, so. But then again, you get these cars in that claim they have real low miles and inside of the motors are filthy, and they clearly don't. Judging by the inside of this, I haven't really cleaned it besides just wiping a little bit of that junk away. I'd say it really has 60K on it. All right, so like I was saying, inside the engine's very clean. It's a low mile example. You could definitely tell. That is why it took me so long to find this car, because there were stipulations. I did not want an accident car. I didn't want any Bondo or bodywork on the car. And the mileage I wasn't really too concerned about, actually. But more so, I didn't want any accident damage. I just ended up getting kind of lucky in getting a low mile example. But without further ado, this is all OEM gaskets. You just kind of press them in place. Very self-explanatory, very easy. I'm sure a lot of you guys have changed your valve cover gaskets before, so I shouldn't have to go step by step on how to do it. Just kind of pushes in place here. The OEM ones, I think I paid 45 bucks for this kit with the insides. A lot of the times they don't come with the inside valleys, but these leak all the time. I feel like the inside leaks before the outside does. And voila. So like I said, a little bit of sealant on the half moons, the 3 half moons. We're gonna throw a little on there, make sure the engine cylinder head is all cleaned before we put it on with the fresh sealant, and bolt it down. Simple as that. And I'm gonna give it a little bath of oil for first startup as well, just to be safe. It's a little tricky getting the valve cover on without the gasket actually popping out. It's very tight with the harness over here. Alright. What you're going to want to do is just check all around, especially in the back. Make sure the half moons fell into place. Alright, so there is obviously a torque spec and an order to do it in. And you want to start off basically at 35 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. You'll snap these things right off. So you're going to start with the middle one. And I know you're not supposed to have an extension on the torque wrench, but it don't fit otherwise, so it's good enough. All right, now we're just gonna put the distributor cap on, put the wires in, and get the intake all set, and a couple little brackets, and we're ready for startup. Look at that. Told you guys there wasn't much left to do. All right, so we are all back together. Everything is as it once was, but now it has a set of cams and a new VTC in there. And we also plugged back in the VTC solenoid. That was unplugged for a while I was driving it the whole 4 miles that I've driven it without VTC. And so it wouldn't make noise basically. And it didn't make any noise when it's unplugged, but it had no low end power. So we now have a new VTC and cams. So we are ready for first start. Fingers crossed, everything's good. We are ready for the first start on the cammed S14. Mr. Ant came for the first start. He heard it all the way through the grapevine.
Yep.
And he said, I have to be here for this. Dagnell's over there. So let's get this bad boy started. You want to do the honors, Ant?
Yeah, you ready for this?
We ready. Hopefully it doesn't blow up.
Loose bolts? No loose bolts, right?
Don't believe so. We'll find out soon enough. Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
Something, right?
Smooth. Super smooth. No more VTC gear noise either, so we have VTC back. So this thing is going to feel like a rocket with its whole 160, 170 horsepower. So we now have the cammed NA S14. So now that it's got cams, we're going to have to work on getting a full exhaust for it and doing something sweet for the intake, like one of those old ARC setups. That would be really cool. But job well done. We have a success. Right?
That's the sound from the back. I can hear a little something.
Oh, it's got a little bit of a lope.
It's probably just so choked up.
Yeah, it is.
Cat and everything.
Yeah, this thing's full stock exhaust. It is no bueno. We got to open this thing up a little bit. That's going to be next on the list. But the video's long enough. You know the deal, guys. Check out my Instagram, MikeG203. You could always see what we're working on there. Like, comment, and subscribe. We are so close to being monetized. It's not even funny. This video might actually do it. And keep an eye out for some more cool parts. We have lots of boxes coming in from Japan. We have more cars coming in from Japan. Quite a few actually now. I just placed an order for some more. And we got a lot of content coming up. So I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.